I've been thinking about my Navy career, and some of the things and some of the friends that I made, and there's one fellow that comes to mind that is special. And his name's Wesley Gibson, Wesley Arthur Gibson, and Wes and I met in 1969, 1968 in Hawaii. We were stationed at Kunia, which was a four-story building completely underground in a pineapple field on Oahu, Hawaii, just down the road from Schofield Barracks Army Base. First time I met him, we were all assigned a sponsor when you moved to a new command. Mine was a guy by the name of Mark Ingwall. He was second class, I was second class, so that was the deal. They give you someone same level as you, so you'll feel comfortable, not intimidated, and have something in common. So anyhow, he's showing me around the building the first day, and mainly he's showing, we were on the second floor. No, we were on the first floor. And we were the computer facility, and at the time, we were the largest integrated computer facility in the world. Integrated meant that there was a lot of different systems, Unisys, IBM, CDC, you name it. They were all in there, and we were responsible for running a lot of things that was in support of Vietnam. And of course, this was a classified area, so I can't tell you a heck of a lot about what we did, but it was basically had to do with what I just said. The first time I met Wes is, like I said, Mark was showing me around, and we were walking down a row of cubicles, and all of a sudden, over one of the cubicles comes this long stream of fire, just shooting over the top of the cubicle and right at us. And I said, "What was that?" And Mark said, "That's Wes Gibson. You just have to put up with him." And that's how I met Wes Gibson's flame. And then eventually I met him, and I had an awful lot in common. We were both a little bit on the wild side, him much more than me. We were both, we liked to have a good time. So anyhow, as I got to know Wes at work, we started palling around after work and on the weekends and such as that. Now, Wes, I don't ever remember Wes going to the beach. I don't think that he really did, but my first year there especially, we spent a lot of time at the beach. I had some really wonderful times, and I probably had 20 guys working for me on my shift in production control and computer operations, and a good many of them had been with me in San Diego and in Washington, D.C. For the training that we received on these systems prior to coming to Hawaii. So we all knew each other, and they loved the fact that I was married and had a wife and 2 kids living there in Hawaii. So they had a place to come and hang out and not feel like they had to do anything. It was their kind of a home away from home. And we're talking, most of these guys were, 18 to 22 years old. And they were all good kids, and I wasn't a heck of a lot older than them, neither was Joy. But we became their, I guess, pseudo mom and dad away from home. So they'd come over, we'd go to the beach. When we were working the mid shifts, which is how I started out, we were all on the same shift, and when we got off, we would all go someplace. They'd go to the barracks, and I'd go home, we'd all eat breakfast, and then we'd head out to the beach. And we would spend the majority of the morning, a couple hours into the afternoon, depending upon what we had going on, volleyball games, football games on the beach, all that kind of stuff. They were trying to learn to surf, not me. But anyhow, so we had a really good time. And as we progressed through this thing, they would come to our house and work on their cars and wash their cars and just hang out with us. And sometimes we'd go outside and there'd be half a dozen guys. And I knew most of them, but a lot of them didn't even know. They were just friends of our buddies who would come and hang out too. And they'd knock if they had to go to the bathroom or something like that. And a couple of them would stay in and watch TV. And it really was a cool time to be in Hawaii and be a young sailor. And, Vietnam was going on and all this stuff, and we were all laying on the beach and eating pineapple and drinking Primo beer, which I don't know if they still have Primo beer, but the Hawaiians think it's the greatest thing in the world, and we drank it because it was dirt cheap and often tastes like dirt. But anyhow, it was okay, and we got by. So anyhow, back to West Gibson. After that first year, Joy got pregnant, and the rent was going on up on the Savian house that we were living in, to the point that we couldn't afford it. So we applied to move into Navy housing over at Ewa Beach, and we finally did that. And I remember I was going to move myself because it was expensive to pay somebody to do it. And in the Navy, you don't have any money. So I started looking around, and Wesley Gibson comes through and said, "I can get a truck for us, no problem." So he does. He gets a truck, and he shows up, and a bunch of the young guys came over and helped us load the truck and drive over to Ewa Beach, which was on the other side of the island, and at Barber's Point, past Barber's Point. But anyhow, and we loaded the new house up, which was Navy, what they called Capehart housing. And it was a 3-bedroom place. We had oodles of room, and just, it was really nice. And we were going to be saving money from what we were paying on the outside. So after we moved, the guys helped us and everything. They didn't come over much because that was a much longer drive, although on Hawaii, an hour is the longest drive you have. But anyhow, they didn't come over near as much, and we got closer to Wes and his wife Elaine, and they had 2 kids. They finally had a third, a daughter named Nikki, and we had a daughter named Mindy. So as we all are living our lives at Eva Beach and having a wonderful time, we had just a lot of crazy parties and good times, and just it was a nice time. Wes and I were responsible for a couple things at the base, which was really the facility at Gunea, and the recreation officer got us to handle, and Wes was a former supply keeper, so storekeeper, so that gave him the insight to know how to do all this stuff and work all the deals, and he was sort of a shyster anyway. He is sort of a shyster, but he's anyhow. So the rec officer said, for Thanksgiving, let's have a turkey shoot. We get all the guys together. We go out to the firing range, and whoever shoots the best can win a turkey. So we go to the commissary, and we get a deal of like 30 turkeys and 30 hams for people who might not like turkey. So we bring them back, but on the way we happen to go through Eva Beach in our house, and we dropped off. Somehow we lost 6 turkeys and 6 hams. So by the time we got back to the building, we only had 24 of each, 24 hams and 24 turkeys. So we go ahead for a couple of days before Thanksgiving, and we have the turkey shoot. Well, everybody shot, including Wes and I, and lo and behold, we turned out to be fairly decent shooters, and guess what? We won a turkey. I think Wes took a ham, and I had a turkey. So it's over, and there's a couple turkeys and a couple hams left. So the rec officer says, hey, for you guys doing such a good job in handling this and getting all these, why don't you go ahead and pick out one for yourself? I said, you serious? And he said, oh yeah, go ahead, you deserve it. So I think Wes took a turkey and I took a ham. So we came home, and I brought my turkey and my ham into the house, and Joy asked me, what in the hell are we going to do with all these turkeys and hams? Somehow those other turkeys and hams had showed up, and so Wes and I both had, we had won one. He had given us one. 3 of them run off to each of our houses, so we both ended up with 5 turkeys and hams. And I felt fairly guilty about that because, you can only eat so much turkey and so much ham. But I guess we had it for about 6 to 9 months after that. It was pretty good. But those were the kind of things that just happened, weren't planned, just how fate works out sometimes. So we did such good on the turkey shoot that they put Wes in charge of the Christmas party at the Christmas party, because, we're in Hawaii. At the time, you didn't get TV the same day. You got things the next day. And I mean, this was 1970, and maybe a little archaic, but at the time we didn't realize that. It was a great place to be. And so because of those situations, and because we were in Hawaii, and because most sailors couldn't afford to fly home or anything such as that, we had a big command Christmas party. And all of the kids, I mean, there must have been 500 kids, because there had to be 150 or so of us sailors. So anyhow, I used to know the number. It's something like that. Anyhow, so Wes and I, we go to the exchange to Toyland, and we are picking out a dozen dolls, a dozen cars, a dozen tractors, a dozen kitchen sets, a dozen, just anything you can think of that kids would like, of all ages. So I think we even took our wives at one point to help us pick out for the bigger kids and things like that, because like young girl, what would Wes or I know about what they might like? We got ball gloves, baseball bats, and all that stuff. And I mean, we had like $20 per person, and maybe 500 kids. That's a few bucks if I did that right. It's about $10,000. But anyhow, we did all the stuff, got it all together, and son of a gun, if on the way back, somehow we went through Kania Housing, or no, I'm sorry, Eva Beach Housing, and a few of those toys fell off the truck. I'm not proud of it. This a long time ago, and if anybody did this, I would turn them in a heartbeat. But we were young and impetuous and typically drunk. No, that's not true. Not at work. But anyhow, so needless to say, everybody who came to the command Christmas party got a gift. And all the kids were just so excited and so happy. And we probably had about easily 20 or 30 toys and gifts left. The rec guy says, well, let's split those up 3 ways, and just your kids can have a real good Christmas. So we did that, and our kids had an unbelievable Christmas, and I never had another one like it. But that was an unbelievable Christmas. So some of the shady things we did. Anyhow, Wes had been a Golden Glove boxer back in the day, and he still enjoyed boxing, and he's a physical guy. I'm a wimp, weighed 130 pounds, and a good wind blow me over. Anyhow, he said he'd teach me to box. I said, why would I want to learn to box? And he said, because you need to be able to do something because you're pathetic. I said, well, okay. So we decided we're going to have a little sparring match, and we're going to do it at his house. So I decided, and he had boxing gloves and all that stuff, he had one of those boxing bags that he could and all that stuff. And I'd go, he'd miss it. And, it was embarrassing. But anyhow, so like anything else, I played it up for the kids. I put my bathrobe on. I wrote killer on the back. I had a towel over my head and tennis shoes on, and I'm bouncing all around. And we drive over to Wes's house, which is 3 blocks from our house. But we drive over there, and me and my entourage enters the ring, his living room, and all the kids, his 3 and my 3, the 2 little ones didn't even know what was going on, but they're all laughing and everything, making fun of me mostly. And so Wes comes in, and we put the gloves on. I put my gloves on. I couldn't get the robe off. I had to take the gloves back off. That took a little bit away from it, but not that much. And then we get ready to spar. So we're in the middle of the living room. And he said, now protect yourself with your gloves. So I am. I'm doing this, and we start, and he's on my gloves, which are, in the meantime, beating the crap out of me. And I said, this is not working. So he stops hitting me. And so, picture this, I go, and when I did that, he hit me right between the eyes, knocked me across the room, up against the wall, and I slid down, just like any funny movie I've ever seen, only I wasn't kidding. And he's all apologetic. Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was an opening. I just couldn't stop myself. Yeah. So, and the kids are going crazy. And I mean, they're all hugging Wes and all this stuff and cheering. And I'm laying over there. This is not the way this was supposed to work out. But it did. That's just the way things were in Hawaii. One of the Christmas gifts that we got were those plastic guns that shoot plastic darts with a rubber cup on it that would stick on the glass and all this stuff. So we got a set of those, and one night they're over for dinner, pizza or something, and we break those guns out, and we're having gunfights, Wes and I, and we're chasing each other around the house and shooting at each other and sticking them on my bald head and all kind of crap. And finally I called time out because I had to go to the bathroom, and it involved having to sit down, figure it out. So I go in the bathroom. I have my gun because I know Wesley Gibson pretty well by this time, and I know that he is about as trustworthy in a truce as if you were going to make a truce with Donald Trump, So I'm sitting on the throne, I have my gun, and I aim it just about where I think his head would be when he opens the door. I'm sitting there waiting, not just waiting, but waiting, and I see the doorknob slowly turning. The door slowly opens just when I think it's perfect. Pew! I shot. It hit him right in the eye, and he falls over backwards and knocks over the dresser and all kinds. And I said, I knew it. And those were those were the kind of things that we did. You might not think it's funny, but it was a hell of a good time in Hawaii. And I have more Wes Gibson stories because there's nobody in the world like Wes Gibson, my friend. Okay, let's see what this turned out to be.